Hi, this is Dave Torromeo. I'm back here for Latin Business Today and the Sports Business Institute, and I have just an exceptional guest today, and it's really cool what I've and unfortunately, I'm embarrassed to say I really didn't know his story, but we'll hear more from him. But I just want to say, my publisher, Barry Middleman of Latin Business Today, said, "Hey, the Winter Olympics are starting, and maybe if we could find somebody with Latino descent, I said, well, then let me look into it, and then, boy, I think I uncovered the right guy. So let's welcome Ruben Gonzalez."
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Yeah, no, listen, we appreciate it. You're clearly a busy guy, and I'm really just great. Congratulations for not only an Olympic career, which we'll get into in a second, but your business career is very impressive. And just I'm hoping that we get to do this face to face sometime soon. I'm on the East Coast. I believe you're based in Colorado now, right?
I am Colorado Springs.
Okay. Did you go out there because that's where the Olympics was headquartered?
That's what everybody thinks, but that's summer mostly and indoor. No, we have to go where there's a track. And so in North America, it would be Lake Placid, Calgary. There's the track up in Whistler, and then the one in Park City, Utah.
Okay.
And then you go to Europe.
Yeah. So Ruben, 4 Olympic Games, 5 best-selling books, hundreds and hundreds of speeches, keynote speeches, and clients that you have. Let's start with the background. How does a guy? You're from Houston, Texas, is that right? From Houston?
I was born in Argentina.
Argentina. Okay, that's how I wanted to mention that as well, right?
My dad was a chemical engineer with Exxon, and when things got bad in the late 60s, really bad, he figured a way to get himself transferred, even though he didn't speak much English. And so we were in Queens, New York for a couple of years. Most of my life in Houston. I could never get used to the heat and moved to the Springs about 11 years ago. And I love it.
Okay. Back to our conversation. Argentina descent, Houston, Texas, Queens, New York. Are you a baseball fan, Ruben?
No, I'm not. But I love baseball movies for some reason.
Oh, wow.
The Moneyball is probably my favorite.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I just read a great book. It's called oh my gosh. Anyways, it's about Lasorda.
Okay.
Lasorda, the wishful Dodger or something like that. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
but I don't follow baseball.
Well, okay, but Lasorda clearly was quite a character, right? So,
yeah.
All right. So the story goes as I hear it, or as I read your bios, and thanks for all the info again. And you're in Houston, Texas, and you're watching the Olympics, and somehow you decide you want to be part of it. Not just the Olympics, the Winter Olympics. You don't ski, you don't skate, and you just how does that And then you pursued that dream, that passion, and made it come to fruition. How did you do that?
When I was 10, I saw the Olympics for the first time, and I was hooked. I knew that's my adventure. That's what I want to do. I used to read a lot of adventure books. That's how I learned how to speak English. I had them all in English, all in Spanish. A tutor would put it all together, and boom. And so, but I'm not a great athlete. I'm a slowpoke, a lot of heart, but no body. And so I never believed it was possible, and I never pursued it. And then when I was 21, I was watching the Sarajevo games, the Olympics on TV.
Okay.
And I see this little guy. He must have been 5'1", weighed 110 pounds, soaking wet, and he wins the gold medal in figure skating. Scott Hamilton.
Oh, sure.
When I saw Scott Hamilton, everything changed. I said to myself, if that little guy can win, I can at least play. I'll be on the next ones no matter what. It's a done deal. I just got to find a sport. And so I wrote Sports Illustrated. Actually, I went to the library to look for sport. First, I looked at the summer games. It took me 5 minutes to realize you got to be Superman to do any of these things. No way. Then I started looking at the winter, and I thought, my nickname in high school was Bulldog, because I was always very tenacious. Maybe I should find, something that fits that. And so I picked the luge because I thought it looks like a lot of broken bones. Maybe a lot of quitters, and I just won't quit. Wow. And so I wrote Sports Illustrated. I asked them, where do you go learn how to luge? They said Lake Placid. I called them up, and I told them, hey, I'm an athlete here in Houston. I want to learn how to luge. So I'm in the Olympics in 4 years. Will you help me? And the guy goes, well, how old are you? I said, 21. And he started laughing. He said, forget it, man. You're too old. We started them off when they're 8, 9, 10 years old. By now you have 10 years experience. No way. And I didn't know what to do. The only thing I knew was hanging up was not an option, or that would have been the end of the dream. So I just kept talking to him. And finally, I guess he got tired of me. He said, okay, we're having a beginner's camp in a couple of weeks. Be there. And so I went to Lake Placid, and that's where it started.
Wow, listen, I see over your right shoulder your fight for your dream. And that is and great that you pursued this dream and this passion. Not only did you pursue it, you made it. And then you made it to not only one, but you were in 4 Olympics. That's amazing.
I pinch myself. I really do. So I go up there to Placid, and it's just a couple of months after I saw Scott Hamilton on TV. And so it's the springtime. So it's a loose track without the ice. It's concrete. And so they're teaching us on wheels from the half-mile point. All we're wearing is tennis shoes, shorts, and a t-shirt and a helmet. That's just for decoration, though. You crash at that speed on the concrete, it's straight to the hospital. I mean, they called it the weeding out process in the sport of luge.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's quitting, right? But I just kept at it. And the first 2 years, I broke my foot twice, my knee, my elbow, my hand, my thumb, a couple of ribs. But I just kept coming back. I figured, broken bones, temporary inconvenience. You wear a cast for 6 weeks and you're back. And meanwhile, everybody else is quitting. And then the next 2 years, they threw me into the World Cup circuit, even though I was a beginner. And because I had to be in the top 50 in the world in World Cup points to be able to qualify. And I made it by the skin on my teeth all 4 times, but I got to play with the big boys. And so now when I speak, I've been speaking professionally coming up on 20 years next month. When I speak for a group, like yesterday, I was speaking for Chick-fil-A, 6,500 people.
Nice.
My goal is I want to be their Scott Hamilton. I want him walking out of my talk thinking, if that guy can go to the Olympics, we can do anything, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully, they'll be inspired to face those fears that are holding them back.
Yeah. Well, it's an amazing story, and obviously you have a real internal fortitude in getting things done, and that has led you to just a wonderful career. Doing what you're doing, speaking, motivating people, writing books. Tell me about your last. Tell me about the books in particular.
Sure. My first book is called The Courage to Succeed.
Nice.
And you can find them all on Amazon. The Courage to Succeed, because I believe, and it's not my courage to succeed, it's the courage, right? Anybody's courage. I believe that you have to have 2 types of courage to reach your goal. You have to have the courage to get started, and everything's tough at the beginning because you don't have any skills. So you have to have the courage to endure, to stay in the game long enough to learn those skills, and then you use the skills to reach the goal. Well, the courage to get started comes from believing it's possible, right? If you believe something's possible, hey, I'll give it a shot. And the courage to not quit, that comes from your desire. If you want something badly enough, ain't nothing gonna make you quit. Well, I always had the desire, but I didn't have the belief, because I was on the bench for kickball. I mean, it was that bad. And so, but when I saw Scott Hamilton, boom, now I had the belief to go with that desire, and I was ready to go. Does that make sense?
This is very interesting because obviously you're very honest about your athletic ability and your past. And obviously you were 21. So you're out of high school, right? And I think back to, a lot of people that I played ball with in high school and great athletes and this and that. And I said to my son, who's now in his 20s, you don't want to peak in high school. You don't want to be that guy. It's like, oh yeah, he was a great high school athlete. And it's like, that's all well and good. And it's good. That's not a problem. But at some point, you need to continue to grow and mature into being the person, that you're going to be, right? Whether it's an athlete
That's a great point. I've got a high school athlete son, and boy, I can't wait to tell him that's beautiful.
Well, listen, I really like, what you're doing here. So one of the things I see here is you have a comment or something about having a coach or mentor. I am big on mentorship and having people kind of assist you. Listen, this is a crazy world we live in, and it's just, we all need help. I think we need assistance, and that's what you're doing. You're helping people. But how important is that, having mentorship?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, that's a secret. Everybody's looking for the silver bullet, the secret to success. Well, the secret is find someone that's already done what you want to do and follow in their footsteps, right? Submit to their leadership, and you be the soldier, let them be the general. They've been through that minefield. You know, if you have to cross a minefield, it probably makes sense to follow somebody's crossed it, right? So find that person. And successful people like to talk about success. And if you're serious about, you know, that you're going to pursue it, right? It's not just something you'd like to do, but you're willing to pay the price. If you're that person, then you're not imposing on them because here's what happens. You know how people always say, oh, he's successful, but he's not happy. She's successful, but she's looking for something else. It's because success is the silver medal, okay? The gold medal is significance. That means you helped somebody else succeed. You created a ripple effect of success. You made a difference. That fills the little hole in your heart. And so if you really are willing to pay the price, find them and tell them, you know, I admire what you do. I'd love to be your mentee, and I'll do whatever you say. And I'll make you look good, okay? And you'll help them get the gold. They'll help you get the silver. It's a win-win.
Yeah, and well said, Ruben. I mean, it's very interesting because, you know, I meet a lot of people. I told you at the beginning, I run a master's program in sport business management, and I have a lot of older people who've had careers in finance, and they come to me and they're like, you know, I want to work in sports. And I say, well, why do you want to do that? And they said, well, it's my passion. I love sports, and I've made a lot of money, but I hate my job. And I think back to what my dad told me when I was thinking, listen, you know, life is short. You wake up every day. You want a passion. Nothing against making money. Believe me, I have nothing against that. but it doesn't fill that hole in your heart that you just mentioned. You know, that comes from another place. And
So I just did this TED talk. Mm-hmm. And we're about to reshoot it because we just need to reshoot it. Mm-hmm. I was good. The AV people were not good.
Oh no!
But it's called the power of the power of following the leader, right? Okay. And I talk about how, you know, in the old days, you know, if you wanted to master your craft, you became an apprentice, right? You found someone who done what you wanted to do, and you follow their advice. But very few people want to follow the leader anymore. And so I talk about the importance of that. And in fact, it should be ready in a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Once it is, I'll send you the link because you're really going to like it. And feel free to share it.
I will absolutely share. You know, I have a lot of students at the master's level of my program, but also a lot of the stuff that I do interacts with a lot of young people. So I'm happy to share anything that you have, you know, because I think it's great stuff. But one of the questions I see that you were kind enough to share from your website, which is awesome, by the way, is something about the German Luge team and commitment. Tell me about that.
The Germans dominate the sport. They always have. They've won 80% of the medals in the last 50 years. Okay. I mean, talk about a dynasty. Yeah. And so, but it was a decision. Success is a decision, right? They decided, hey, we're going to dominate this sport. And they built 4 tracks in a country the size of Texas, and they put money into it. And, you know, that's how it works. And so I've been luging for 2 years. They throw me into, they compressed 10 years of luge training into 2. That's why I got hurt so much. And because we only had 4 years to reach the Olympics. And so then they throw me into the World Cup circuit. And I felt like a kid that just got his driver's permit, and he's sitting in a room, and outside that wall is Indy 500. And that kid starts looking around and, wait a minute, that's AJ Foyt. Hey, that's Mario Andretti. What am I doing here? I got to race these guys? So I'm in a room filled with Olympic champions, and it was a crisis of belief, right? Yeah. And I would go to the corner where I didn't have to talk to anybody, and I would just focus on, I got to get these World Cup points, right? That translate into a World Cup standing. And I just did that. And meanwhile, the Germans, they won't give me the time of day, right? I might be walking down the track. There's a few Germans working on a sled. Hey, Hans, how you doing? Nothing. It's like if I'm invisible. And so they, you know, that made me feel even worse. It wasn't until, so I got to compete in the Calgary Olympics. That was my first one, 88. Okay. It wasn't until 2 years later, I'm walking down that track, and the Germans, it's like a memo went out. Hey, Gonzalez, Speedy Gonzalez, how are you? Right? I said, what's up with you guys? I've been nice to you for years now, and I'm Speedy Gonzalez now? Come, we must talk to you. The whole team, I mean, the coaches, everybody, they gave me the talk, right? And they said, look, some of us have been doing this since we were 5 years old, okay? We were the best in our town. Then we were the best in our region. Finally, we made the national team. 10 men get to do that. Then we made the Olympic team. Only 3 men make the men's Olympic team. And actually maximum of 3 men. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. But there's so much depth. We'll be lucky to do 2 Olympics. But when we're finished, we're going to coach for the rest of our lives because we dedicate our lives to the sport. And we're sick and tired of seeing people from other countries. They do 1 Olympics, they disappear. You know what we call them? They're like, no, what? Olympic tourists, always with their little camera. But now it's 2 years after your first Olympics. Obviously, you're trying to make the Albertville Olympics. Whether you make it or not doesn't matter to us. What matters to us is you are showing respect to the sport. So now you have earned our respect. That's called commitment. That's what I learned from those guys. And at the time, I thought these guys are nuts. Okay, they're fanatics. And now I agree 100%.
Yes. Well, that's a very interesting story. I'm glad you shared that with us. And you're gonna have to forgive my ignorance. I do love watching the Olympics, both summer and winter. And the bob, and you probably saw with the Jamaican bobsled team made the Olympics again, which is really another great story. But what is the difference between bobsled and luge? Sure.
If you've seen Cool Runnings, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's bobsled. There's a 2-man and a 4-man.
Right.
And now they have a monobob too, which is great because you can drive and you can brake. You don't have to you can do it solo.
Yeah.
So that's a big sled. Both of those are big. And the guys are usually, they're like football players, right? In fact, Herschel Walker and Edwin Moses competed in the Olympics as pushers, right? Because they had that speed and power.
Right. Yeah.
Skeleton is head first and luge is feet first. Take a luge. So the luge sled is the smallest one. It weighs about 50 pounds. The skeleton's about 75 pounds. 2-man bob, easily 300 or 400 pounds, and 4-man is over 500 pounds, right, for the sled. So you'll notice now the next couple of weeks, opening ceremonies, and then men's luge is the next 2 days, right? Luge goes first, and then skeleton, then 2-man bob, then 4-man bob, because you don't want to tear up the track, the ice with those heavy sleds, right? It's too much work. So that's how it works. If you take all the luge, bobsled, and skeleton runs and add them all up, we account for 70% of the injuries because the bobsled, you're protected. The skeleton, everybody thinks the skeleton's the worst because it's head first, but it's very intuitive. You just look into the next curve. Like if it's going that way, you just look into it, and that pushes your shoulder down. It steers you, so you just do Stevie Wonder the whole way down. But but it's like racquetball. I tell people, skeleton is racquetball. You can do it the first day, right? You can have fun. Tennis, you need lessons, right? So luge is tennis. Luge is it's messed up. It's totally counterintuitive, which I didn't know all these things, but it fit me because if it's more broken bones, more quitters, I got a better shot.
All right. So with that, I mean, philosophy, which is really interesting. Why luge and not skeleton? I mean, did you try
skeleton back then? Skeleton was an Olympic sport. It was called Cresta back in 48 and 52, and then it disappeared. And then it came back in 2002 at the Salt Lake City Olympics. And so sports come and go. Baseball was in, I think they were in Athens, and then they disappeared.
Correct.
It's who has the best politicians pushing for your sport.
But do they go basically the same speed? Skeleton and luge?
Very close. I mean, ours is the fastest, but only by a couple of miles. So same.
But you're I mean, you're moving, you're cooking.
Yeah. Most tracks are 75, 80 miles an hour. The one up in Whistler, we were hitting over 90 miles an hour. And you pull 6 Gs on some of the curves and your head's hanging off the end of the sled. So it's tough. It's the luge is the only sport, winter or summer, that's timed to the 1/1000th of a second. So everything counts. Okay. You take 2 runs the first day and 2 runs the next day, and then you add them up. You can break the track record 3 times and blow the race on the 4th one. And so 2 years into learning how to luge, I had my first clean run. Clean run means you didn't even brush against the wall. And that's a big milestone. Then I went to coach. I said, Coach, my coach is a 4-time Olympian and a 3-time world champion. Okay. He's like Michael Jordan of luge. And this is an Austrian guy. And you can't, his standards are so high. He's never happy about anything. And So I had my clean run. So I go to coach, coach, I had a clean run. Nothing, not even a smile. I says, coach, you didn't hear me? I had a clean run. Yeah, good. Now you know it's possible, but good is not good enough. Olympics, 4 runs. You must be consistently good. Oh, come on, coach. Let's go get a beer. No, you give me 4 clean runs in a row, we go get the beer. I still haven't done 4 in a row.
Oh, that's tremendous. All right. So obviously you have this real success. I mean, 4 Olympics is really impressive. But you're also you're obviously a very bright guy. Speak multiple languages, one being Spanish, which as I mentioned, we do have some, this is Latin business today. So and you're welcome to say something in Spanish if you'd like to our audience.
Sure.
In fact, why don't you? Yeah, that would be great. Why don't you answer this?
Yo nací en la Argentina, vine a Estados Unidos cuando tenía 6 años, tengo 59 y todavía no me olvidé. ¿Qué les parece? Así que vengan a Colorado y hacemos un asado con un chimichurri riquísimo.
I'm gonna have that translated, Ruben. Thank you for that.
Yeah, all right, so don't worry.
tell us about the speaking engagements, how people can find you, where they can, your website, all that stuff, because we want to make sure people can find you.
Sure. My website is the Lugeman, thelugeman.com. The Iceman was taken. That would have been a lot easier. So it's TheLugeman.com. Actually, so there's videos there, and there's articles. There's all kinds of stuff.
It's good stuff.
I've spoken, I've spoken for over 100 Fortune 500 companies in the last 20 years, and all over the world. So again, my goal is just to inspire people so that so they'll chase that dream, chase their goals, and go for it.
Well, again, congratulations. I mean, and by the way, and I just want to say this because I reached out to you blindly. You didn't know who I was, and you responded right away. And that tells me a lot about somebody. I have to be honest. So thank you for that. I'm going to bring Barry back in. We'll have a little conversation, but I just want to thank you again. Again, what's the website for our group?
TheLugeman.com. So it's TheLugeman.com.
Yeah, I would strongly encourage people to go there, check it out. There's the stories, obviously how you can engage with Ruben, and please take advantage of this fine individual and his acumen. Okay, thank you, Ruben, so much.